Hello, human peoples. You're listening to the podcast network of Gamefully Unemployed. To support us and gain access to great exclusive podcasts like Fox Mulder is a Maniac, Tom and Jeff Watch Batman, Star Trek The Next Futurama, and our latest show, Spiel Boys, head over to patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. We do game streaming, movie nights with our patrons every Friday night, and you can even commission your own podcast about anything you want. Literally anything, within reason, and we have to do it. You are quite frankly out of excuses not to go visit patreon.com/gamefullyunemployed. That's patreon.com/GAMEFULLY unemployed, which is spelled like it sounds.
We really are, man. We're so in sync.
And now let's see if we're going to fight about this movie.
Oh, it's going to be a bloodbath. Hi, everybody. My name is David Bell. And who are you?
Oh, I'm Robert Brockway, of course.
Yes. And we just watched The Crow, the movie event of the summer.
Before we get into it, quick question. Only guy in the theater?
Yes.
Yes.
You feel like my person.
You feel like my person.
What's the worst thing you've ever done?
I saw things. I shouldn't have seen any of it.
When I came out of this movie, the two theater employees were there, and one of them turned to the other and said, "Oh, there was somebody in there. That's why The Crow was still playing."
They're just like, that's the guy. That's the guy we were talking about.
They were wondering, like, they saw the theater, and they're like, why is the fucking Crow playing the day after its release?
I have fond memories of the first Crow, and I just only say that in that going into this theater, I was like, it's going to be me and a lot of insufferable people.
Nope. Well,
just no one.
I guess if you're insufferable, and then you're right. Both accounts. I loved the first one. I loved the first one a lot. I've even watched it recently and been like, fuck yeah, holds up. I love it. Okay. I still love it.
I want to start there. First of all, thank you so much for being on. You were like, you jumped at this. Like, I sent out an email. I was like, these are movies we're thinking of. And you're like, The Crow. I dibs on The Crow.
I'm going to watch it. Everybody knows I'm going to watch it. I can't say I was excited for it, but I knew I was going to watch it anyway, so I might as well have the excuse to write it off on my taxes.
Yeah, I kind of knew too. I mean, not just for this. I was like, I'm definitely going to watch that at some point out of at least curiosity, because I knew a lot of goths growing up, so, I watched The Crow a bunch. So before we get started, where can people find you? What you got going on? Is there anything you want to tell anybody before we get into The Crow?
Well, all of your fans are also our fans, so you're already at 1-900-HOT-DOG, but you can come support us, me and Sean, and a bunch of other really talented, wonderful comedians, possibly the last ones left alive on this planet. Patreon.com/1-900-HOT-DOG. You can listen to Sean and I's bizarre podcast, The Dog Zone 9000, and of course listen to us with Jason Pargin on Big Feats, where we watch every single episode of Hillbilly Monster Hunter show, Mountain Monsters, and it's getting so good. Like we always say you have to start at the beginning. Start at like the last episode before you're listening to this. It's amazing. So we're up to Psychic Bigfoot and his mind-controlled harem of rednecks.
That's so good.
Yeah, it's getting real good.
Yeah, people check that out. I was just talking with Jason, actually. We recorded a podcast on the movie Society. That's coming Thursday. And that was fun. But yeah, I've been listening to the latest episode, so I'm getting my fill right now. It's great. It's
getting so good, and we're almost caught up to the point where we started it, which was this. We started it with this last episode that we did, which was the Psychic Bigfoot one. But we're almost up to the second episode we covered too, because they were both in the same season, about Lightning Man and his Thunder Brothers, which is the lightning-powered Bigfoot and his separate gang of a different species of Bigfoot. Like, he controls the gang, and then they have to assemble. The hillbillies have to assemble a legendary mystical axe, which is the only thing that can kill him.
That's so good. Oh my God. That's amazing.
It's fucking incredible.
Yeah.
Go listen to that. Go listen to Big Feats.
Absolutely.
Don't watch The Crow unless you're like us and you got to.
Yeah. So what did you think of The Crow? Again, getting very bad reviews, good audience reviews though, but bad critical reviews. How did you like The Crow 2024's?
It was garbage, but I still had a good time.
Oh, okay. I think we're in agreement then.
Okay. Like I didn't hate it, but that's only because I'm me. Like if I liked exclusively good movies, I would have hated this. And if I had like a lot of like sacred feelings about the original Crow, which I really do like the original Crow. I've seen it a lot of times.
Yeah.
But I don't like hold it in like a place of sacrilege if somebody screws with it. So yeah, I was happy. I was happy. I like going to a movie. I just like going to the movies.
That's how I felt, where I was like, this is a good daytime on TNT movie. I have some issue even judging it on that, but I mean, starting from, obviously the question I think on everybody's mind is why make a new Crow?
After all these years.
Yeah.
Why?
And why make one that's this sort of like, it felt a little uncommitted. Like it feels like maybe because like there were barely any advertisements for this. And it feels like weird that this sort of kind of limped out. It was just sort of like I saw maybe one ad for it in theaters and it was clearly like a TV ad. Like it felt like there was no theatrical trailer for this. And they don't seem like very confident in it. And I guess like, I'm sure they're wondering like, does anybody still watch the original? Like, do we have a fan base that isn't just all goths? It's a comic book, but it's like, do people care about the comic? So I feel like even the studio was like not very confident in this movie.
I think
confident enough to spend like $50 million on it, mind you, but that's like just everything's expensive. But it didn't feel like ultimately I watched it, I left, I went, I guess I had a good time. I guess I liked that. But it doesn't feel like it needs to exist. I'm not sure why.
Now this
happened.
This is the one. God, if I get this wrong, I'm gonna get so yelled at. I think this is the one where Bill Skarsgård maybe went on in an interview and was like, I don't like the ending. Like,
oh, interesting.
At this stage in press where you were supposed to be like, this is the best movie ever made, regardless of your feelings about it, he's like, I don't really like it. I didn't really have a good time doing that one. It was.
He trained a lot for it, apparently.
Yeah. See, I really like Bill Skarsgård.
Me too.
I wait for him to get that breakout role, and I knew this as soon as they announced it, knowing nothing about it. I'm like, Crow remake? That's not it. I'm
right.
I'm sorry.
Apparently it was, they started trying to plan it since 2008, which explains a lot to me. Because I don't think this was in like post-production hell, but it was in pre-production hell. And I think like by the time they finally, like, you know, when you're like, you're over planning something and then you're like, let's just fucking do it. Like, that's what it feels like, where they're like, listen, we've been talking about this for a really long time. Let's just fucking make a Crow. This weekend, let's get together. Let's make another Crow. For the love of God.
2008 feels right. Like if this came out in 2008, I'm not saying it would be successful, but you'd be like, yeah, this is the movie. This is the remake of The Crow 2008 would make.
Right.
Because like he's a SoundCloud rapper kind of guy.
Yeah.
In this one, like that's how they updated it. That's not what the kids are these days. Like that was the joke of our generation. So like that's 2008 to 2012, baby.
They probably didn't update parts of the script. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I know about the production other than that is that they certainly didn't use guns on set. They had airsoft guns, and that's probably a good idea, right?
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to be the story. You don't want to be the movie where somebody else dies on it, and you're like, ah, damn it.
Yeah, you're like, okay, no more crows.
No more crows.
Like I can almost see like there's this kind of cursed aspect to the original Crow, where it's like, is it weird to even make one? Is it like in poor taste in a weird way or something? And then on top of the fact that it's like when they made the Eon Flux movie, where I feel like they were like, is this anything?
Yeah.
Where's my Eon Flux fans? And
Yeah.
I'm actually an Eon Flux fan, and they didn't make it for me.
Yeah. I mean,
So
that's the
it's
same
like-
with this movie. Like, I was an Eon Flux fan too, and I wasn't into that movie. So, like, we're your fan base, and we're like, no, thank you. They just
No,
don't.
then make it. Yeah, I don't know much about the comic, but this didn't feel like it felt like you said updated, where he's like covered in tats and he's like kind of a little scumbag, you know?
Yeah, he's a dirty little rat. He's a dirty
I
little,
didn't mind that.
dirty little fuckboy.
Yeah.
But that's a
I,
2008 thing. This is not like, you can tell they were targeting like Gen Z, older Gen Z. Like, let's get the Gen Z kids into this now that they're hitting, mid-20s or something. But then they're like, SoundCloud rappers, that's what the Gen Z kids. No, man.
Yeah.
You're old. You're behind it.
They also like. I'm glad they went with Hard R. I'm glad they committed
PG.
to that.
A PG Crow. Yeah.
Yeah, because you could see it. Because I think I'm assume there was some conversation with producers that are like, it's like a superhero film, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, nah, kind of.
It had some of those problems. You can tell like superhero poisoning leaked into the script at some point.
Yeah, for sure. And like the big thing that pinged me with this movie, especially since they're saying like we're not planning on sequels, this was never meant, and I'm like, then why did you spend so much goddamn time on origin? Because this movie, so like I don't remember, you said you watched the original Crow recently, so tell me this, the character of Eric, is he already in the relationship when that movie starts?
Yes.
Like they're already in love.
It's
Yeah,
so
okay.
quick, the establishing. That's one of the things I love about it, is it starts off on that Hell Night when they die, and they're just like in their apartment. We're so in love. So in love. It's like 10 minutes, and then it's not even 10 minutes, and then they are killed by the gang. And then the rest of the movie, you get more flashes of their relationship in like little 1 second bursts throughout the
Flashbacks,
movie.
Yeah.
As he's like looking at their stuff or looking at their old apartment and kind of reliving some things. But that's it. It's just implied. It doesn't
Right.
spend a fucking hour of the movie on the origin of their relationship like this one does.
Yes, that's the wildest thing about this movie. It's as if they didn't think we'd know what a relationship was. And so they have to
Or why
show,
you might be mad if somebody kills your significant other. Like,
yes,
you
they
gotta
have
understand.
to show them meet each other. They both go to rehab, where I guess it's bully rehab. The way the rehab works is they bully you a lot,
See,
right?
all right, this is another one of those things. My brain is so scattered these days. I'm very sleep deprived, but I have had a few friends and family members go into rehab or rehab-like facilities. I don't think there is a Supermax rehab. Like, I don't know what the fuck they were doing with this, because this is straight up Supermax prison, like machine
Yes,
gun
it's in the
nests
middle of
and
nowhere.
razor wire, but it's on the side of it. It says like Serenity Rehab or something, and then it's got cells, it's got cell doors, it operates exactly like a prison. Like it's just rehab.
I couldn't understand because from the outside it looks like a high end, and like we learned, she's like a rich kid.
Yeah.
So it starts with her. She's being chased because she has this video. Well, it starts with horse death, but the story starts with her going to this. She basically street cop finds her drugs, and then the rehab is like, it looks really fancy and it's the woods. So I was like, is this like a rich rehab? But we find that Eric isn't rich. So. And then it's on the inside, it's like you said, like Supermax, where they're getting like bullied by other people in rehab and the guards, like beating on them. I'm like, I don't think this is how you get better. It was so weird to the point that I assumed it was going to be a plot point, like Danny Houston's character was going to like own this place or something. Like,
Yeah.
I thought we were going to circle back to it, but it's completely incidental to the plot.
It's
And it's
for
so
like
weird.
It's for like the Lex Luthor of drug users. Like I'm
Yes.
I'm so addicted that I'm the maximum danger I can be to society.
It's so loud that it's all I can think about right now with this
was-
movie.
And it's real early for you to be like, what world do you live in? What is this?
Yeah. And like for that first hour, I was spacing out because I was like, I thought this was The Crow, but it's just the story of this rehab clinic for so long. And it's like they meet each other there. They fall in love. It's co-ed, I guess, which is whatever. But it's, again, also like a prison. And then the bad guys go looking for them, so they escape. Is that Joy Division?
Yes, there's certainly Joy Division in this.
There's certainly Joy Division. Which is, always happy to hear Joy Division. And then they escape, and then they go, and then they do a bunch of drugs together. And after that, every scene of them together, I was going like, okay, and then they're going to break in and kill them now. Now. Yeah, and it just goes through like a year-long relationship. And it was like,
we meet their fucking friends? You're like,
Yes!
Why am I meeting your friends?
They go swimming, and I was like, I think they forgot the movie they were making. Like, they got distracted by this other story.
And it suffers for it, because the Crow formula was real easy. It was like, they're in love over the credits. That's all you need. And she gets killed, and now it's all revenge. And what that did was give you room to, like, establish all of the villains. So, like, that's the thing I like about the Crow, is the villains had a lot of personality, that you got to know them, and, like, it was kind of a big deal when he got to them and killed them. And it enabled a lot of like really cool action sequences. In this, that's all crowded to like the last third of the movie. They're like, okay, we're going to fit a little crow in here real quick. All right.
Right. I don't know what they were going for. That said, I could almost see this being a weird cult classic for this reason, where it's like, it's more of a love story. I wonder if, because the actress in this is somebody, right? I don't know from kids these days.
FKA Twigs.
She's like a singer?
Yeah.
Okay. So maybe they were like, the moment they got her, they're like, well, we're not going to kill her off in fucking 15 minutes. And it's like they really wanted to make like a love film, like a love story film that was like a surprise Crow.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like they would have had more success if they didn't advertise this as a Crow movie, and that was like a twist.
Been so good if they advertised this as like a modern romance, and then you go in the last third, you're like, wait, that's the Crow?
Yeah, you're like, am I watching the fucking Crow? That would have been cooler, I think. The slow realization.
Because you could change nothing, and it would be that same point. Like you definitely forget that you're watching the Crow after the first hour. And then, then like the afterlife and the Crow shows up, and you're like, oh, right. We're doing this thing.
Did you read the comics?
I never read the comics. That was just the movie for me.
Okay. Because
Crow poser.
I'm a Crow poser too. I was going to ask the question, because I don't remember one in the movie. Does the comics have a demon crime lord? Who whispers sins?
In the movie, the guy was like vaguely magic adjacent. He had the witch sort of sidekick, and she would like toss bones and like make prophecies. But it was always kind of like, that's not real, or is it? Like it was very, very loosely connected.
It's like Prince of Thieves. It was like a Prince of Thieves situation.
Yeah,
where it just has a witch.
Yeah, it just kind of has a witch, but you're like, maybe that's bullshit, and he just kind of believes it. He did not have the direct like underling of Satan who has Satan whispering powers.
Right. And that's when where I felt like they were doing more superhero. And maybe that's in the comic. It reminded me of like Constantine, where I'm like, oh, okay, so he's damned and then he's fighting even more evil people.
So surely he'll have like a really cool use for those demon powers in the movie.
Yeah. He doesn't really do anything.
He talks to side characters that you're not really aware of and rooting for into killing themselves, and then he briefly like whispers at the Crow, at Bill Skarsgård, and all it does is remind Bill Skarsgård of love. He's like, "Oh yeah, I'm in love," and then you're dead. It's over so fast.
So like in theory, I do like the grift that Satan is running. So this guy has a deal with Satan for long life. And what Satan basically gives them is the power to whisper to anybody and to force them to do their worst instincts. and what it gives Satan is souls, right? Is like Satan is collecting more because it's like, yeah, I have all these murderers down here and all the bad people, but what if I had a guy who's going around kind of campaigning for me, making people do sins that then send them to hell?
A hype man.
Yeah,
for
exactly.
Evil. I need a hype man for evil.
I'm surprised it's just this one guy. Like, I don't know how many guys Satan can make.
Yeah, in theory, like when they first introduced that wrinkle, I was like, oh, that could be interesting to lean more into like the supernatural angle. It didn't really do anything. And I think that's again because they were so rushed. Like they made a 40-minute Crow short film at the end of this hour and 10-minute love story.
I don't know why they were so focused on that.
I mean, like they were setting it up for a sequel at the end too. I thought that's why they were so focused on that
too. And like it's weird to criticize a film for like focusing on its emotional core.
Yeah, but that's not what The Crow is, buddy.
That's the thing where I was like, I kind of just wanted the superhero thing. Like at one, to some extent, it's like, yeah, women always get fridged, right? It's a common term where like women are there to die. And that is The Crow, the first one, right? But you could have other women characters that aren't there to die. Or you can just, I don't know, make them a gay couple. Don't fridge, do something. But like, it's like the origin is like he's getting revenge for the murder of his girlfriend. That is the origin of The Crow. And like it is silly to, it is a case of someone being fridged, but it's like you can offset that. But like it's a wild way to offset that by being like, let's give it half of the movie instead.
Yeah.
Which is, there's a world where maybe that would work. The other problem is that it feels like that entire sequence is almost all montage. It feels like one long montage.
It kind of is.
Yeah, where it's like it's them in love. They're fooling around together. They're doing drugs. They're swimming together. And it's just scenes of them telling each other how much they love each other. They go to a bridge. She says like, "Would you die for me? Would you jump in with me?" It's all like the platitudes of a love story, and it felt like all you needed was one of the 6 scenes to show that. You know what I mean?
That was the efficiency of the first Crows, that they were just like, look at these people, they're kissing. You get it.
Yeah.
Let's move on.
It's kind of like when a movie, like an improv movie, lets everybody say their own version of a joke, and you're kind of like, pick one. Like it was like, these are all versions of showing two people in love, but it didn't progress in any way.
Yeah. I really think they thought they were going to get sequels, but the way that it ends is very much like and now he's trapped being the Crow. Like they're in the original series, like of course Brandon Lee was not available to go on being the Crow, so
that didn't stop them though.
So
they made sequels.
They made sequels, but it was always like a new person and a new wrong in a new place, and they didn't want to do that with this one, so they clearly set it up so like, now Bill Skarsgård is the Crow, and he's going to have to do this for other people as he walks off into limbo or whatever. Yeah, no, you're not getting it. You're not getting sequels.
You're not, and that's actually a shame, because here's the thing is, once he becomes the Crow, I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed like him sort of like I enjoy the idea of like, listen, you can get completely fucked up, and you'll heal. The only issue is you're gonna feel it. So it's like grotesque, it's like body horror. I liked how they did the violence. They didn't try to be John Wick about it. It felt more like 90s violence.
I'll tell you what I liked about it. I liked. And initially, it was what I didn't like. Initially, I was like, what are they doing? Because The Crow was kind of a martial arts movie. I mean, obviously, you've got Brandon Lee.
Right.
But it had a lot of really good fight choreography. And he became this very competent fighter with his... he knew Crow-style kung fu all of a sudden.
Yeah.
But that's what the first movie was. And in this movie, he is not a capable fighter. He comes back from the dead, and there's a cop there that he has to fight. And it's just like... he does not know how to fight at all. And I
Yeah.
didn't like that at first, but then as they kept rolling with that, I was like, okay, that's actually really interesting to have, like, your power is you cannot die. Like, whatever happens, you'll heal from it. It does not make you a good fighter. Like,
Right.
This is going to
It's
be really hard.
Yeah. It is a really funny idea, which is like, you can't die. And it's like, cool, so I can fight. And they're like, no.
No.
But you will win every fight. It's just going to take a while.
It's going to take a long time, and you're going to look real bad. It's going to
Yeah.
look real bad for you. Like, you're just going to get dominated most of the time.
Yeah, it's just him getting his ass kicked.
I really
and
liked
until
that.
he finally gets a lucky shot. And I really like that too. And I like that opera fight, but you're right, it got less interesting the moment he gets official crow powers. And then they're like, you're better now.
Yeah.
The,
he was a
guy
little
in the-
better, but it was still like, I feel like the way they made that choreography
still
was
not great. You're
he's still not great. He's just sort of embracing like I'm not going to worry about getting hurt anymore.
Yeah.
Because like he was
gets
still
a
worrying,
sword.
like he was still freaking out when they would stab him or shoot him or whatever. He was still trying not to get shot. So a lot of the fights were about wrestling for control of a gun. And then once he like embraced it as he became the super crow or whatever, then it became like, okay, well, I'm just not going to worry about all the bullets. Like this becomes a lot easier if I just don't have to worry about any of that. And so he would just kind of walk through a hail of gunfire and casually poke a guy a few times with a sword. Like it doesn't.
In true dirtbag fashion, his main weapon is a sword that he got off of a tattoo artist. It's perfect.
Yeah, that checks out as dirtbags of our generation, though.
Yeah, that's
Like,
a mall sword.
I don't know if Gen Z is into mall swords because malls don't really exist anymore.
It's true.
I don't think the mall
that's
ninja
sad.
store is still there.
Yeah.
The one thing they did give him to appeal to Gen Z, and again, this is another one of those things where my brain is kind of fried. I spent the whole movie trying to make sure before he becomes the crow, I believe he is wearing a bomber jacket that says in giant letters "goon" on the back. I think that was some studio head being like, let's appeal to Gen Z. You know what they like? They like this thing called gooning. I'm not going to look up what it is.
Just stick it on the clothing.
Stick it on the crow. And then this is he becomes the crow and still wears that jacket for that first part until he like really embraces his powers and then he changes into the trench coat. But for like the first half of his superhero deeds, the first several fights, he is wearing a jacket that says like, I'm the crow and I don't like to come. Not for a long time. You're not going to be able to make me come. I'm the crow.
And that is scary, to be attacked by a guy who's like, I'm not gonna come. I'm like, oh no.
Was that a danger?
I have a lot of pent up energy.
The kids, they like to goon. Let's put a jacket that says goon. Maybe it's a fashion thing. I don't know. Maybe I was just wrong about it because it's a dark, dark movie and I was really trying to but I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I'm pretty
I
sure.
want that. I want that for us. Yeah, I mean, I really do like that he in any other movie, he's a guy who would get murdered in the first half hour. Like, he's such a weird little scumbag. And I do like the general vibe of scumbag superhero who feels pain and can't fight. That is so funny.
Yeah, it would have been interesting. And you know what? A lot of this is just Bill Skarsgård kicks ass. He's great.
Yeah.
He's great at being just
really
a weirdo,
good.
a weird little scumbag, kind of an action hero. He can kind of do it all. I'm a big fan. And like if they had given him this as the whole movie, I don't know if it would have been better like box office wise, because I don't think there's a big market for people jumping on the Crow remake, but it would have been a better movie.
100%, because to me, this has the vibes, at least aesthetically, of like, those Sony fucking Venom movies, or like it's got that B movie superhero genre, where it's not it's not a moneymaker, but it's like it looks like grimy in the way where it looks like it's from like 2007, like Van Helsing,
Yeah, it's a 2008 movie, like for sure. They made that script and then they just made that movie. It took them a long time, but they made it in 2008.
And there's no there's no jokes that are amazing in it. It doesn't have a whole lot visually going on. Like the first Crow has a lot visually. It was like an imagined world. It's the Dark City guy. This felt like more like gritty crime movie. than like a fantasy superhero, which I actually thought wasn't a bad idea. Like when he first dies, he just washes up under a bridge, and I was like, oh, I guess this is what the afterlife looks like.
Yeah, the afterlife is, but the whole world is just somewhere under a bridge. I liked that too. It's just he looks up, and you're like, oh, it's bridges all the way up.
Yeah,
it's just all
scum.
We're all living in an underpass forever.
Right, because I don't know. It's the guy is credited as Kronos. I guess it's like this is the purgatory, right? Mm-hmm. It's this guy who we're not quite sure. He seems mad at the demon guy. Like I feel like when they say their excuses when someone dies and it's like really sad, a crow doesn't carry their soul, right? The sadness carries with the crow. But I was watching this, I'm like, it wasn't that sad. Like, don't get me wrong, it was sad what happened, but like sadder deaths happen. So it's weird this guy gets to be the crow. And I guess my headcanon is that like that's just what they're telling him. But really this guy just saw an opportunity to fight Danny Houston and his demon
that's the
buddies.
vibe I got, is he was just like, your romance was the most perfect and tragic. And he was like, yeah, it was. He's like, yeah, let's not get carried away.
Yeah.
What I really need you to do is go kill this demon guy. Like,
all they needed was a scene. One scene of them together. My God.
I do like another thing I liked about Limbo, that it's all an underpass.
Very convenient budget-wise, by the way.
A network of eternal underpasses. But also every time he like breaks the veil between worlds, what that is that Kronos pushes him into a dirty puddle. Over and over again, the veil between worlds, and then you dirty little rat, get in the mud puddle, get in the stinky puddle.
I'm imagining the meeting where they're like, so we're not getting 100 million? Oh, God, what if Purgatory was that underpass down the street from the studio? And they're like, yeah, that could work.
Yeah. And how does this scene where he breaks through the veil between worlds, this looks like a lot of CGI. Like, I got an idea.
Shove him in a puddle.
Shove him in a hepatitis puddle.
Which all these things I found charming, because it did feel like, okay, they don't have a budget.
If that was the whole movie, I would have been a lot happier with this movie. Maybe there would have been a second guy in our screenings.
I mean, do you think maybe that's why they're like focused on the love story? Because they're like, we don't have money to actually do a full Crow movie. Yeah, so let's like give them a taste and then hope they'll give us more money for the next one.
But 50 million
love story
buys you a pretty decent low-key action. You could have done it on 50 million unless there was some corruption or something going on here, unless there was a story.
I don't know. Yeah, but more like gritty gunfights would have worked. Yeah, you know?
Those aren't that expensive.
But I guess I don't know, choreography. I don't know, man. I don't know what happened here with this script. Also, once it got going, the only thing I found very silly is that they realize that like him being immortal isn't very interesting stakes wise. So they add in this thing that, I mean, I don't remember it from the original Crow, where his love for her has to be pure.
Yeah, that was not
otherwise
there.
His power is weakening. And it's like, okay, that's silly. But it only actually comes up once. And it's when he sees so what happened was she took a video of this evil crime lord possessing her to kill somebody else. And so Eric sees the video of her being possessed explicitly. Like he knows that's what's happening to her, killing someone else. And that makes him like question his love for her.
I think it was literally the scene before he saw that video. A guy very carefully explained to her, he's a demon and he has a power to like whisper in your ear and make you do evil. And then he watches the video and he's like, oh no, she did evil. Why? Like
it's like, it's
flip
like
those
3 scenes.
Like flip the scenes. Just
yeah, it's 3 scenes next to each other. Him learning that, him watching the video, him losing his powers. And then I guess a 4th scene where immediately after he gains them back.
Yeah,
and just goes so like, never mind.
It's like he gets 2 fight scenes as the goon crow, as the crow who cannot come, and then he like spends maybe 1 minute doubting the relationship, makes a deal with Kronos, and comes right back. Like, he's still in the bathtub where they left him dead when he doubted their love, and then he's like, okay, I'm back up. Now I'm the crow who can come. You're all in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and he never has a problem after that.
He comes everywhere.
He comes everywhere, coming all day.
No, but then he's just like embraces his powers after that. But like, there's no, unless you're doing like save the cat shit, there's no reason to have him like doubt the journey. Well, that didn't happen in the original one. He had low points, but it wasn't like your love has to stay pure or anything. Like, he didn't find out that she was possessed by the devil and then doubt their love. For sure.
You could do a version of this, right? Where like the idea that maybe like when she first hooked up with him, she was lying to him about something. Maybe it was like it started like she pretended to like him and then they fell in love. Like, excuse me, there are ways to do that bit, but it was so rushed. It's almost as if they crammed a love story in the first half and then didn't have time to do anything else. And then I guess couldn't hit the delete button. Like, it felt like one of those scripts where like they lost their backspace, so they just wrote it, and then they're like, "Oops."
I feel like really they were probably just filming it as they went. Like there maybe wasn't a script, or somebody was just like, "Well, the script is kind of an idea. Right. We'll figure it out. Hey guys, we'll wing this Crow movie, right? Am I right? High fives."
Yeah. Nice. It really is. It's like that joke about making a banner, right? And you suddenly realize you don't have enough space for all the letters. Like, they really stretched their legs for the first half.
Yeah, but then at the end of the banner, after you crowd all your letters in and there's still not enough room, you're like, maybe they'll just give me another banner. Let's just ... here, and then trust that the studio will give me another $50 million banner.
Yeah.
And they did not.
Yeah, he becomes like the official Crow. Like, he gets like all the powers. Yeah, maybe right before the third act, and that should have been the halfway point. Like, he should have become dead. Like, it feels he should have become dead fucking 20 minutes into this.
I don't even think 20 minutes. Like, you had the recipe for the original one, just an opening like montage over credits, give it 5 minutes, and then the rest of you do flashbacks of their love or whatever. And then you focus on, because that was the other problem, is that all of the bad guys, save for Rogue, the Devil Whisperer, all the bad guys I don't even think they have lines. Like,
there was one I liked, and he was dead in minutes. The guy that he finds in the car who looks at him and goes, "I killed you," and he looks like really weary of it. Mm-hmm. I thought that was an interesting reaction. I was like, "Ooh, I want to know more about." Oh, he's dead.
Yeah, I didn't know his name. Like, that's the like format of The Crow, is you get to know these villains. He takes down the villains. You learn a little bit about the relationship. It's an action movie, whatever.
Too. Like, they have a crooked cop who doesn't seem to love it, and he's dead before you get to learn anything about him.
Yeah, the villains are just an absence, and you need the good villains. Otherwise, why are you doing it?
Right. I thought the crooked cop was actually going to turn or something, to be like, "You don't understand. He's too powerful. I can't fight him." And he's like, "We'll fight him together." But none of that. There's no, like, didn't The Crow have like a kid in it, right?
Yeah, a kid
like,
and a cop.
Yeah. And it, like, that made it really interesting that this doesn't have all the side characters either die or just bounce really quickly.
Yeah.
Except for her. So they did the opposite, where they're like, instead of killing her immediately, let's not kill her immediately and then have nobody else. And except for the underpass guy. That dude. The exposition man.
Yeah. The hobo between realms.
Yeah. Just telling him stuff for some reason. Like, really, he was like, "Why are you doing this?" I wanted to be like, I'm kind of a pervert. Like, this is my kink. I send people back and then I watch and I jerk it.
I mean, that's
like you.
Ask yourself why I'm trapped in Underpass world. Like, that should tell you everything.
Yeah, he says I'm no angel, and I'm like, yeah, okay.
I'm the only guy in Underpass world. They built this just for me.
Yeah. I'm the only guy Satan and God was not into. They did not want.
And I guess you nasty little rat. Yeah. And if you're here in Underpass world, I know what you're into. Let's goon together.
Goon Brothers. The Crow 2 Goon Brothers. This all leads to the final battle, which is Danny Houston whispers in his ear, and I'm like, oh, he's using his one move that's going to be big. No, never mind. It doesn't
it's
do
over
anything.
so quick. He never gets to use those powers to like do anything impressive. He kills 2 side characters that were not.
Yeah.
And they didn't amp them up. It's like, these are very powerful side characters. Can you believe it? They were like very vulnerable women that he's just like, hey, kill yourself. And they do. Like, okay. So I get how the power works. Now let's see. I can't wait to see how he uses it or how it evolves against the Crow. Oh, it doesn't. And he doesn't.
Yeah. He just shoves him into the afterlife and then beats him. He just punches him a bunch.
Yeah.
Like for a demon, this guy sucks. He is.
He's dead so fast from like he starts to give the big speech and then it's just over. And then he's like in hell.
Yeah. Which was also confusing because he becomes the Crow by being like, my life for hers. So his girlfriend's in hell. And he loses his ability, he loses his faith in her or whatever, and he regains it by saying to the underpass pervert, he says like, take my life for her, let's make that exchange. They do a ritual, a blood ritual. And I'm like, okay, so this guy clearly has some powers here. But that's not what the exchange ends up being. I guess he's giving his life to this guy who is like the Crow manager. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think that's correct.
Yeah.
I think it's like a professional wrestling relationship. He's the Crow and he's got a manager, but maybe they kind of fight together sometimes.
Right. And so they defeat they don't explain how he rips the demon guy into that world. He just shoves him into it.
Like there's a window.
Yeah. Yeah. Just through a window and then they're suddenly in the demon world. And then he beats the guy up and then Satan just goes yoink and takes him.
Yeah.
And then Satan's like, okay, cool. Here's this lady and gives her back. And then so she survives and then he has to be the Crow. And they do a moment where she wakes up on the floor and like they do a time travel.
Yeah,
right?
I was confused about that. Does that mean that went back in time and then because okay, so to frame
that's a paradox.
To frame it, she wakes up when she's released from hell. She wakes up on the floor exactly where she died and looks over and sees Eric, sees Bill Skarsgård dead beside her, like exactly where they died. So none of the Crow stuff ever happened. And then she looks up and the paramedic is Kronos. It's the underpass pervert.
Yeah,
so it's
I thought.
Is it saying it's all in her head? Because that's a fucking stupid thing to happen in your head.
That would be a wild twist of like, what if the Crow was all a dream, and then we definitely don't get sequels. And that's what that implies, right? Is that this was all her fantasy as she was dying?
That's all it can be, because it's not him as he's dying. They show him and he's been dead for a while. And it's her that they've revived. So she imagined that she was going to hell and he became the Crow. And then she imagined a lot of adventures where she was not present except for as a memory.
Yeah, she's going to tell her friends, like, I had a weirdly specific near-death experience.
It wasn't. I wasn't even in it. It was actually somebody else's.
I'm going to make a comic based on that.
So, like, generously, I guess you could assume that I guess she... Maybe by making that deal, it went, like you said, it went back in time to that moment. And Kronos, being some sort of time dude, hence named Kronos, was like, I'll be here to make sure it goes off like I promised. And then I guess he's stuck. His soul is stuck in this other dimension to be the Crow or something. That's not how that works. That's not how that's implied. It's very much implied like she is waking up and this was all a dream. A dream of the Crow. And then credits.
That is how it ends, huh?
Yeah. It's very...
Jesus fucking Christ.
It ends... The new Crow reboot ends with Bill Skarsgård in a goon jacket just wandering through a snow globe, and it's all like a little boy's dream.
Okay, so talking it out, I see why this movie's terrible.
It's pretty rough. I had a good time because I liked the original Crow and it kind of reminded me of it. Mostly, I just like Bill Skarsgård and I like watching him do stuff.
I think that might be it because like I literally came home and I walked in and I was like puzzling it out and I was like, I think I liked that movie. That can't be right. Like, it wasn't good though. There was not like, why did I like that movie?
Did it all end in a snow globe? Surely that's wrong.
Yeah. Was it all a dream? Did Kronos become a paramedic? Or maybe Kronos was watching and being like, huh, that paramedic really looks like me. What a weird coincidence.
That's weird. That's really going to throw people. We should change that.
Oh man.
I like Bill Skarsgård looking like a dirty little rat and like,
yeah.
I like the idea of him fighting people when he's not good at fighting, but he can't die. I like the idea of him coming back from the afterlife as an avenging angel in a goon jacket. I like all of that. I wish it was all that. I wish it was that instead of the last 40 minutes, and I wish it didn't end as all the dream of a dying FKA Twigs.
It's like, you ever see, like, I'm trying to think of a good example where someone makes like an AI video of like, this is not the best example, but like, here's what The Simpsons looks like live action, and it's dumb. And you're watching it as dumb, but there's like a couple good ideas in there where you're like, oh, that would be kind of neat. Like, that's what it is this movie had a lot of little good ideas where I'm like, oh yeah, that is kind of a cool idea. Oh yeah, what if he was more like that? Or like, oh, I really, I like that opera fight. Like, it wasn't amazing, but it was like, this is kind of cool, I don't know why I don't know why the opera is so loud that they can't hear gunfire in the lobby. And then in the fucking like the hallway too, outside of the opera, they're really into that opera. But I liked like the editing, I liked how it was put together and some of the set design and some of the gore.
It looked pretty good. It looked good. It was a nice thing to look at for a little bit.
Right.
It was, you know what? If this just went straight to streaming, I think there would be maybe a little more forgiveness.
Yeah, I think so too. And it just has little parts where you're like, oh, that is up. No, it's gone. But that was cool. Like there was like slivers of ideas.
Yeah, you should.
It should be noticed.
I don't say this very often, but you should watch this movie while also playing on your phone.
Yeah.
This is the movie for you to do that. You shouldn't do that for everything. But this is a good one. This is a good one to do something else for the first hour and just kind of get the gist.
Yeah, the first hour is just the gist. It's the most baffling choice. I've like of the movie. I don't know why they did that. I don't know why they made a love story for the first half. That is such a weird thing to do.
Trying to bring the female audiences into the Crow remake.
I was thinking that where I'm like, okay, goth kids. They're trying to get like emo kids in there too, right? They're trying to do like, let's make it more. That's why I'm like, I wonder if this will become a cult classic for people who like love stories more, where it's like, this is kind of like, let's get all the emo kids, young girls, like do the sappy thing and like lean more into that and be like, yeah, this guy, he'll die for you. He'll become the Crow for you. And like, but even still, again, it's more of like a montage. It's just a long
it's not
series
done
of
well
platitudes.
enough to be that though. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. I don't think it's got an audience waiting for it.
Yeah,
I don't think they're getting that sequel.
It's a shame. This is the director of Snow White and the Huntsman and Ghost in the Shell. And I'm like, come on, you got to get a win here. Because like, I don't think those movies are terribly directed. They're just, I mean, the Ghost in the Shell one, like, my God, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
Like he keeps picking up projects that like already have like fan bases that would probably respond negatively to this version of it. Right. Where it becomes, he's making movies for nobody. Like Snow White and the Huntsman. What if we had a gritty Snow White? And it's like, for who?
I think, okay, I remember when each of those movies came out, and I remember seeing trailers, and I remember my first response is like, why would you do that to each of those movies? Like, that's his brand, is I make movies that make you go the second you see them. That's not for anybody. Don't do that. Ghost
And
of the
what's
Shell
wild is-
remake, Snow White and the Huntsman. I'm like, why are you making that in action? That's stupid.
Right. And he's choosing these, and like again, like he might be a good director.
Yeah, he's not
I can't
bad.
tell.
It's not badly. No, I can tell. It's not
Yeah.
badly done. It's not badly assembled. It's a bad movie.
Right. It's the big picture is like,
Mm-hmm.
why this? Why would you? All right.
He's
I
just.
guess.
He's like a competent guy that has a passion for bad movies. I
Right.
of all people, I can understand that. I relate to that.
Yeah, that's true. I do think this is his best idea, or the best idea for, remake The Crow. I feel like you could do that. Like, I think you could make a new Crow, and it would, if you did it right, I think it would find a fan base. And I think this had some of the right ideas. It felt like it was directed kind of for the right audience. It was just a weird decision to make it more of a love story.
Yeah,
but-
I don't think he's. Like I said, I don't think he's necessarily a bad director. I don't
Yeah.
think he's gonna get another shot after this.
Yeah, I don't know, man. This
It is
gonna
not often.
do well.
It is not often I can go to a movie on a weekend the day after it comes out and be the only person in the theater, and not only be the only person in the theater, but have the theater employees marveling that there was one.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's bleak. Yeah, I was at Universal City Walk, and it's like this. If there was anywhere for there to be people, even just like drunk dads coming off the street.
Yeah, just a
It's like,
hot day. I just need somewhere to be.
yeah, exactly.
The Crow?
The Crow,
No, thank
sure.
you. I'll take dehydration.
Yeah, I will stay out here and die.
I will die in the sun before. Oh, shit.
It was kind of. I mean, I saw it in like AMC Prime, where there's like cushioned seats and really good sound, and I was just like, this is all for me. That's cool. I'm like a king.
Yeah, me too. It was great. I always
Yeah.
like when that happens. So, like, usually
My
the
own private
movie
screening.
is much worse than this. Like, I remember that happened at The Happening, but even then, that was like the third week after it had been out. I've
Mm-hmm.
never seen the next day. I've never seen it that dire.
Again, do you remember seeing any trailers for this?
No, not outside of the internet. Outside of the internet specifically laughing at this.
Yes. I saw, I think, one trailer for it. Really quick trailer before whatever the last movie I saw was, whatever I reviewed last. And then it was on like, it's like, I saw it on like a couple Twitter ads or a couple like banner ads where they're like they're just like, right, we have very little marketing budget. We only have enough for like the day before it comes out. And so let's just like stick it out there.
Let's
And
hope
maybe
the
make our
internet
money
makes
back.
fun of us really hard. That'll be some free publicity.
Yeah, let's Morbius this. Maybe we can Morbius this, but it's not bad enough to be Morbius.
But also,
So
nobody watched Morbius.
Yeah, that's
Everybody
true.
was like, "Yeah, we were making fun of that. Not in a friendly way. Not in the
Right,
way
when
where
they
we
did
would
the-
support you."
The re-release was so amazing. Oh my god. Yeah, I'm trying to think of another, but this is like, yeah, it's not cultish enough to be like a cult hit right away, and it's not bad enough for like you have to see this. It's almost as if it exists in some sort of underpass between worlds,
And it is. I will say this: if you go see The Crow, it's a great place for gooning.
Yeah. Oh my god. You
could
can really
goon
retain.
it. You can goon it up that whole time.
Yeah.
You wouldn't bother anybody.
Oh, they should go like aim at the gooning crowd.
Yeah. I think they are. This is for goons. It's just not getting to them.
Right. You have to like you have to put that in the trailers, You have to tell people come goon at the Crow.
Just pan really close to just his face in all of the action scenes, so it looks like he's just jerking off the whole time.
Oh my god. I don't think I have anything else to say
No.
about the Crow.
We took that to a really juvenile place, and I'm very happy about it.
Me too. I mean, you're not wrong. This has gooning written all over it. Like, it has that vibe. I wouldn't have picked up on it. But, like, a guy in this eye makeup walking around being this mad, it's like, yeah, that's gooning.
That guy needs to come. He's got problems.
Yeah, that's all he needs to do, honestly. And once he did, he'd be like, "Oh, okay,
All right, I'll just die now.
I'll die.
I'll go to heaven or whatever.
yeah." Robert, thank you so much for being on. At the end of this, do you want to tell people once again where they can find you?
Yeah, patreon.com/1900hotdog. We're the last comedy website. If you enjoy that instead of nonstop politics and despair, come support us. Give us a shot.
You absolutely should. It's very nice. I'll plug patreon.com/gamefully unemployed. You know us. You should go on. You should join our movie night. We watch movies. Let's be honest, like this. We'll watch this when it's on streaming tomorrow.
Yeah, it's not going to be long.
No, it will not be long. Hey, listen, our music is produced by Chris Corlew. You can find him on twitter.com as the Corlew, or go to shipwreckedsailor.bandcamp.com. Our channel artwork is produced by Michael Vincent Bramley. For more of his work, go to mvbramley.art. Our episode artwork is by Justin Brown, available on Twitter as Justin T. Brown or at artnessbyjustinbrown.com. And finally, additional artwork is by Starlene Hodge. You can find her work at starlenearts.com or on Twitter as StarleneX. Cool. Goodbye.